You're telling me that a grown man dressed as a clown wants a child to retrieve his magic bag that was stolen by someone named the Hamburglar and dresses like a convict? Well, it's better than doing the dishes. I'm Josh from the Gaming Manual, and today I'll be doing a solo cover on The Good, The Bad, and The Buggy on McKids. Ronald, do you mind? I'm trying to do an intro here. Alright, I get it. I'll go get your magic bag, but it better not attack me when I find it. Gameplay. You start at Ronald's clubhouse, which I can only assume must be very busy. Why else would you ask a couple of children to venture through dangerous lands filled with wildlife that have mutated into horrifying creatures? Why else would there be a snail, half your size, trying to kill you? Each area or land has a host that has you gather magic cards for them before they grant you access to the next area. The number of cards needed to access the next area is typically 4 or 5, with the last area being the only one that requires all 6, and that's to get access to the final boss. The game has simple controls. The A button jumps, and the B button allows you to interact with everything else. That includes using the zippers, picking up, and throwing objects. And one thing I would like to say is, unlike with Super Mario Bros. 3, you don't have to keep holding the B button to hold on to an item. Left and right move you left and right. Keep moving in the same direction long enough and you'll start to run. Pressing or holding down allows you to duck or throw directly below you, while holding up allows you to throw directly above you. Level design. The levels are short with decent platforming and a little bit of puzzle solving, with each of them fitting the theme of the area that they're in. One short-sighted thing I will mention is that the waterfall graphics are terrible, and it hurts my eyes if I look at them for too long. There are also a couple of cards that can only be reached or found by exploring some pretty obscure areas, but I beat this game when I was 9, and I feel that none of the cards are too hard to find. But maybe that's also because, as a kid, I really enjoyed exploring every little nook and cranny for some kind of secret or hidden area. That was a pretty common thing to do back on the Nintendo. To me, each level feels unique enough that I didn't get bored due to any kind of repeating gimmick, if you will, and it helps add to its replay value. Presentation. At first glance, it might look like a Super Mario Bros. 3 clone with McDonald's advertisements slapped all over it, but once you actually play it, it's a great game that can stand on its own merits. Yes, it clearly has McDonald's characters and the arches, but at the same time, it's not in your face too much. And if they had used coins, people really would have thought that it was a Super Mario Bros. 3 ripoff. Also, being able to re-enter levels is nice because it is a fast and easy way to get more lives. Personally, I don't find the game so hard that you need to farm lives. In fact, almost every level has at least one up somewhere in it. There are some blind falls in a few levels that have you jumping on top of trees, but I can't really blame the game for that, as it was really common for a lot of games during this time of the Nintendo and Genesis. The bad. Strong bad. The bonus room. You have to play this minigame where there's 4 blocks, of which one will randomly light up. If you stand on it, it'll go up slightly, but if you stand on any of the other 3, it'll actually go down. Not only is it time consuming, but if you make it to the top, you then pick one of 2 zippers and end up in a screen where there are 5 1-ups. And if you want to get them all, you have to collect them in a certain order, sort of like a small puzzle. Now, in the time it takes to get all these 1-ups, you could have just as easily gone into a level and played it 3 to 4 times. Best thing to do is to avoid getting the arches, or if you do end up in the bonus room, just drop down to the bottom and leave. Rewards for perfect clears, or getting all the cards. Getting all of the cards for Ronald will unlock the secret area Puzzle World. There are 3 very hard but challenging levels. Sadly, this is the only reward that's worth getting. As for Birdie, you get a single 1-up. That's right, 1 life. Grimace will tell you that if you land on the far right of a goal, you get more golden arches. Since you would have already figured that out by now, it's pretty much a moot point. The Professor? He'll give you a shortcut going back to Ronald, but that's only really useful if you plan on doing the Puzzle World. Cosmic? All he gives you is a compliment. Seriously, this isn't a joke. Collect all the cards and he'll say, good job. And Hamburglar? He'll give you access to the last level, thereby giving you access to the final boss. How is that a reward? That's just how you win. The game physics. The game physics can be a bit wonky at times. It can turn an otherwise great experience into a bad one. The biggest ones for me are the snow platforms. Sometimes they break, and sometimes they don't. If you're carrying something, they'll always break. But when you're not carrying anything, sometimes it's a 50-50. Unfortunately, there's a couple points where this is the only way to move forward. Luckily, it only happens once or twice, but still, it can be a bad experience. Movement and throwing have the same issue of not always being consistent. Sometimes you or the object will be faster or slower than what you're expecting. This will result in taking some unexpected damage. Also, ducking while sprinting will bring you to a dead stop. There's no slowdown or anything unless you're on ice. The Buggy. The vertical scrolling. The horizontal scroll does fine keeping up with you, for the most part. Now the vertical scroll is just awful. You can, and oftentimes will outspeed it, resulting in taking damage or even dying because you're off screen and you can't react to either a pit you don't see or an enemy below you. Self knockout. For some reason, if you press the start button to pause the game, and then at any time while it's paused, you press select, you die. Doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, you just drop to the floor and lose a life. The final verdict. Now personally, I think this is an underrated game for the Nintendo, and I think if you give it a try that you will enjoy it yourself. Yeah, there are a few things that could have been done better, but overall they're so far and few that this is a game that you should be willing to give a shot. I think you might actually enjoy it if you give it a try. And if you have played this game, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up, share it with someone you think might enjoy it, and consider subscribing. As always, we appreciate your time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.